The WWE universe has been shaken to its very core. It started with whispers. Then, it turned into shock. But now, it's official. Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the head of the table, the cornerstone of WWE's modern era, is retiring. And just moments after the confirmation was made, WWE's chief content officer, TripleH, stormed out from behind the curtain. But this wasn't the calm, composed executive the world was used to. No. This was the enraged, battle-hardened King of Kings, furious, betrayed, and visibly rattled. What he revealed next was not just a farewell, but a bombshell that has left fans speechless, superstars reeling, and the future of WWE in absolute jeopardy. TripleH didn't just announce Roman's retirement, he attacked it. Not physically, but emotionally. With the weight of the company's future seemingly collapsing on his shoulders, he walked to the center of the ring during a live WWE Raw broadcast, eyes burning with disbelief. The entire roster, watching from backstage monitors, could barely keep their jaws from dropping. And the fans, thousands inside the arena and millions watching around the world, fell into a stunned silence as the game spoke just 6 words that would haunt the halls of WWE forever: "This is not how it ends." But it was already over. Hours earlier, in a private WWE press conference closed to the public but soon leaked online, Roman Reigns had made it official. He had fought through his final battle. The years of grueling travel, punishing physical tolls, personal betrayals, and relentless spotlight had finally taken everything. It wasn't a staged storyline. It wasn't a swerve. This wasn't for WrestleMania hype. This was real. The tribal chief was walking away from the squared circle. Permanently, according to those close to the situation, the retirement was not just sudden, it was emotionally charged and deeply personal. Roman had been battling inner demons no one saw. A recurring injury to his neck, whispers of medical complications dating back years, and behind-the-scenes disputes that boiled over in recent months had all pushed him to the edge. But the most devastating part? TripleH didn't know. Not fully. Not until it was already too late, and that's what sparked the rage. As TripleH took the microphone, his voice trembled, not with sadness, but fury. "You think you can just walk away from this?" he said, locking eyes with the camera. "You think after everything we've built, after everything we've fought for, that you get to decide when it's over?" There was no kayfabe here. This wasn't about protecting a gimmick. This was Paul Levesque, the man who helped groom Roman Reigns into the face of the company, venting years of built-up frustration, heartbreak, and betrayal. He wasn't just speaking as a WWE executive. He was speaking as a father figure. As a general who had lost his war chief in the middle of battle backstage, sources describe chaos. Seth Rollins was reportedly seen in tears, pacing furiously between production trucks. Paul Heyman, once Reigns' trusted wiseman, was completely unreachable, locked inside a private room with no comment. Solo Sikoa stormed out of the arena entirely. And perhaps most telling of all, Jey Uso, the one man who had stood by Roman since the very beginning of the Bloodline, refused to say a word. TripleH's tirade continued. He didn't just speak to Roman, he spoke to the locker room. Every single man and woman back there looked to you as a leader. You built this kingdom. And now you're just leaving it in ashes? No ceremony? No goodbyes? No warning? His voice cracked with disbelief. This isn't just about your body, Roman. This is about what you meant to this place. And if you're walking away, then you better believe the truth is coming with you. The crowd gasped. Because in that moment, it became clear, Roman's retirement was just the tip of the iceberg. What TripleH was about to reveal next would unravel the illusion the WWE universe had clung to for over a decade. Roman Reigns didn't just retire, he said. He was forced out. The arena fell into absolute silence. According to sources within WWE, TripleH has been sitting on a powder keg of internal conflicts surrounding Roman's career. From secret medical files that were suppressed by upper management, to leaked documents about controversial contract extensions, and allegations of locker room unrest involving the Bloodline, this was not a clean exit. This was an implosion hidden in plain sight. Triple H didn't name names. But he didn't have to. The mere suggestion that Roman's retirement wasn't entirely voluntary sent the wrestling world into a frenzy. Social media exploded with speculation. Was Roman dealing with a serious injury he had kept secret from even his closest allies? Had he been pressured by investors? Was there a fallout between him and Vince McMahon, or even worse, a betrayal from within the bloodline itself? Some began to point fingers at Paul Heyman. Once considered Roman's greatest strategist, Heyman had been unusually quiet for weeks. Even his on-screen demeanor had shifted, less confident, more evasive. Rumors began swirling that Heyman had orchestrated something behind the scenes, aligning himself with new talent, and creating a new power structure without Roman's knowledge. Others blamed the relentless physicality of WWE's recent main events. Roman's matches had grown more brutal, more chaotic, more emotionally draining than ever before. From his wars with Brock Lesnar, to the mind games with Bray Wyatt, to the betrayal of Jey Uso, and the psychological warfare inflicted by Seth Rollins, Roman had been pushed beyond breaking point. Then came the leaked footage. An anonymous clip began circulating online just minutes after Triple H's promo aired. It showed Roman backstage at Money in the Bank, clutching his neck in visible pain, arguing with medical staff. "It's getting worse," he muttered. "I can't even turn my head. They're not listening." The video, timestamped just 3 weeks before the retirement, painted a devastating picture. Roman had been suffering, and someone knew. Triple H's statement was the final match to the gasoline-soaked rumor mill. "I wanted this to end on your terms," he said during the live broadcast, visibly emotional now. "But if they took that choice away from you, then I promise the truth will come out. And whoever did this to you is going to answer for it." That final sentence wasn't a threat. It was a declaration of war. Immediately after the show, WWE issued a statement confirming Roman Reigns' retirement but offered no additional comment about Triple H's accusations. But behind closed doors, things were far from settled. Internal sources reveal that an emergency meeting was called among WWE's board members. Names were being dropped. Files were being reviewed. Security footage was being requested. Whatever happened behind the curtain in the final weeks of Roman's career, it was now under full investigation, and yet, Roman himself has remained silent. No press conference. No public farewell. No final message to the fans. Just a single cryptic post on his official account. Sometimes the loudest battles are fought in silence. Believe that. It didn't take long for fans to start connecting the dots. Some claimed Roman had been planning his departure for months, quietly preparing for a legal battle or personal escape. Others pointed to a deeper conspiracy, one where Roman had become too powerful, too untouchable, and the corporate powers that be wanted him out before he overshadowed the very system that built him. But nothing explained the anger in Triple H's voice that night. He wasn't angry because a superstar retired. He was angry because a brother was abandoned. A legacy was stained. And a truth was buried. And now, with the full weight of WWE behind him, he was about to do the unthinkable, turn the machine inward. Expose the very empire he helped construct. In the hours after Raw went off the air, several other WWE superstars posted cryptic messages hinting that they knew more than they could say. Cody Rhodes tweeted, "Not surprised. Just disappointed." Becky Lynch posted a photo of her holding the Universal title with the caption, "When the throne is vacant, history remembers who steps up." Even Sami Zayn commented, "Too many ghosts backstage." Eventually, someone opens the door. But perhaps the most chilling reaction came from Solo Sikoa, Roman's own blood. In an unfiltered Instagram live that was quickly deleted, Solo stared blankly at the camera and said, "He told me it was coming. I didn't want to believe him. Now you all see what I see." This place was never going to let him leave the way he deserved. Was this a subtle nod to betrayal? Or was Solo hinting that even he had lost control of the Bloodline's direction? Either way, the message was clear: something darker was happening behind the scenes. Something even Triple H hadn't anticipated, and that's when the second bombshell dropped. Late that night, WWE Insider leaked a report claiming that a confidential medical file belonging to Roman Reigns had been flagged and buried by someone high up in WWE's health division. The document allegedly contained scans of spinal trauma and early signs of cervical degeneration. If true, it meant that Roman had been wrestling on borrowed time, and someone deliberately kept it under wraps to maintain ratings, merchandise sales, and bloodline dominance. Triple H had likely seen it. And that may have been the moment everything changed. This wasn't just about a retirement anymore. It was about a cover-up. About negligence. About betrayal at the highest levels. Triple H, once a soldier of WWE tradition, was now its loudest whistleblower. And he wasn't stopping. The arena where it all happened, once the cathedral of Reigns' greatness, had turned into a crime scene of whispers, questions, and painful answers. Fans poured out not in celebration of a legend's legacy, but in mourning the warrior who never got his proper send-off. The cheers were gone. The "acknowledge me" chants faded into silence. And in that silence, the truth began to speak louder than ever. And now, the question hangs in the air like fog before a storm: who really ended Roman Reigns' career? And why? Triple H didn't sleep that night. He couldn't. The minute Raw went off the air, he retreated to his office, doors shut, phone silenced, eyes glued to a dimly lit laptop screen as document after document flashed before him. Medical files. Legal memos. Insurance waivers. All of it painted a picture more horrifying than he had expected. Roman Reigns hadn't retired by choice. He had been quietly pushed toward a breaking point, medically and mentally. And now, the man who had once led WWE through its most turbulent era was gone, vanished behind a curtain of silence and betrayal. And as Triple H read through each confidential file, it was clear who had known, and who had looked the other way. The name that came up more than once: Paul Heyman. Behind the scenes, Heyman had always been a master strategist. The man behind Brock Lesnar's dominance, the architect of ECW, and the manipulator-in-chief behind Roman's reign as the tribal chief. But somewhere in the last year, something shifted. Heyman had begun spending less time with Roman and more time with executives. His loyalty, once unshakable, had become transactional. Sources revealed that Paul had allegedly struck a quiet deal with high-ranking officials at WWE to position new faces at the top of the company, promising a smooth transition from Roman's reign to the future stars of the company. Names like Solo Sikoa, Braun Breaker, and even Gunther were reportedly part of a new Dominance Era initiative that would reshape the face of WWE. But that vision didn't include Roman Reigns. According to a leaked internal memo, dated just weeks before the retirement announcement, Heyman had attended a closed-door strategy session labeled Q4 Legacy Transition Planning. The memo didn't mention Roman by name, but it referenced legacy talent scheduled for creative phase-out by fiscal year-end. Triple H had been kept out of that meeting, and now, the war had begun. He picked up the phone and made one call. Not to Vince. Not to Shawn Michaels. Not to Stephanie. He called Randy Orton, because if there was one man who knew what it felt like to be replaced, sidelined, and manipulated by the system he helped build, it was Orton. Randy didn't say much on the phone. Just one sentence that changed everything. "You ready to burn it all down?" The next night on NXT, the ripple effect began. Triple H appeared without fanfare. No entrance music. No lighting cues. Just him, center ring, holding a sealed folder labeled Reigns, redacted. The promo was raw, unscripted, and deadly. "I told you last night I would find out the truth. Well, I did. And now I'm not here as your chief content officer. I'm here as Paul Levesque. And I'm telling you right now, if you're in this company and you had a hand in forcing Roman Reigns out of this business, you're next." He tossed the folder into the air, its contents scattering across the ring like shrapnel. Medical scans. Wellness check reports. Incident summaries. Even a doctor's warning, dated 6 months earlier, that read in bold red: cervical instability, career-threatening risk if aggravated. Immediate intervention advised. Triple H stared into the camera. Roman Reigns didn't retire. He was medically shut down while being told to keep fighting. And the worst part? He trusted us. Backstage, WWE's atmosphere shifted from confusion to paranoia. Who else knew? Who had signed off on those reports? And why had Roman been cleared to wrestle after repeated complaints of numbness, migraines, and spinal compression? More importantly, what did Solo Sikoa know, because Solo had been eerily silent? The enforcer of the Bloodline, the so-called heir to the island, had once stood beside Roman like a loyal shadow. But now that shadow seemed to be hiding something. In the weeks leading up to Roman's retirement, Solo had begun taking more creative control in the Bloodline's direction, including surprise appearances, violent promos, and unapproved bookings. According to insider reports, Solo had refused medical team requests to pull Roman from a live event match in Toronto just 10 days before the announcement. The reason? Roman's a warrior, Solo allegedly said. He finishes what he starts. But now, fans were asking, was that belief? Or was that pressure? A former WWE staffer, speaking anonymously, revealed a chilling backstage moment. Roman came off that match barely able to breathe. He said something like, "My hands are going numb. I can't feel my fingers." But Solo just slapped him on the shoulder and said, "You're the tribal chief. Act like it." That moment might have been the final nail in the coffin. Triple H, meanwhile, wasn't finished. At a surprise SmackDown appearance the following week, he issued the most shocking ultimatum in recent memory: "I'm calling an emergency Bloodline tribunal. 1 week from tonight. Every member of the Bloodline, past and present, will appear in this ring. And they will answer to me. If you refuse, consider your contract under review." The crowd erupted. Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Solo Sikoa, Paul Heyman, even Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. The entire Bloodline legacy was being summoned to answer for Roman's downfall, but one name stood out above the rest: The Rock. Dwayne Johnson had remained publicly silent about Roman's retirement, a curious absence given their real-life family ties and heavily rumored WrestleMania clash that never materialized. But now, reports surfaced that The Rock had been advised to stay away from the situation. Why? Because he allegedly knew months in advance that Roman was suffering from severe spinal issues and chose not to intervene. If that's true, then the betrayal goes far beyond the locker room. It goes straight to the heart of the family. By the night of the tribunal, the arena was sold out. WWE called it the most unprecedented internal reckoning in its history. Every Bloodline member sat in a half-circle in the ring. Triple H stood at the center, folder in hand, mic in the other. One by one, he questioned them. Jey Uso was first. He looked torn, eyes heavy, his voice cracking. "I knew he was hurting. We all knew. But we thought he could push through like always. I didn't think it would be the end." Jimmy followed. His answer was more cryptic. He wanted out, man. He just didn't know how to say it. We all just kept the machine running. Even when the engine was smoking. Then came Paul Heyman. He adjusted his tie. Cleared his throat. Then leaned into the mic. "Everything I did for Roman." Triple H leaned forward. "Then why did you lie to him?" Silence. Heyman blinked. "I didn't lie," he whispered. "I protected him. I made the world believe he was invincible. Because if they ever saw how broken he really was, they would have turned on him." Triple H's reply was simple: they deserved the truth. Solo Sikoa was last. He didn't say a word for nearly 30 seconds. Then he stood up. His stare locked on Triple H. And finally, he spoke. "He told me one thing the night before he left. He said, 'Don't let this family die for nothing.' I didn't betray him. I did what I thought he would do." Triple H looked around the ring. And what if what he wanted wasn't war? What if it was peace? No one answered. That night ended without resolution. But the wheels had been set in motion. Triple H walked up the ramp and paused, staring back at the faction he once helped elevate. Roman Reigns gave this company everything, he said. Now, we give him the truth. Whether it saves us, or destroys us. The world was waiting, fans, superstars, executives, even rival promotions, all holding their breath as WWE entered a new, chaotic era. The bloodline was fractured. The locker room was divided. And Triple H had drawn a line in the sand. But there was still one voice missing from the reckoning. The voice that had led WWE's empire for nearly a decade. The voice of Roman Reigns. For nearly 3 weeks after his shocking retirement, Roman remained silent. No media appearances. No social media updates. No sightings. His absence became more deafening than any promo. It wasn't just a retirement, it was a void. And the longer it lingered, the louder the speculation grew. Had he been silenced by legal threats? Was he recovering in isolation? Or had he truly abandoned the very kingdom he once ruled? Then, at exactly midnight, WWE social platforms dropped a teaser. No caption. No context. Just black and white footage of Roman standing in a foggy desert, facing away from the camera, tribal beads in hand. A heartbeat pulsed in the background. One word appeared on screen: truth. The internet exploded. In less than an hour, #Roman Returns was trending worldwide. Fans were dissecting every frame of the teaser. Some believed it was a sign of his comeback. Others were convinced it was a tell-all. But nobody was prepared for what happened 24 hours later. A surprise WWE Network broadcast titled Rainfall, The Final Testament. Roman Reigns broke his silence, not with a wrestling promo, but with a sit-down confessional unlike anything ever aired by WWE. He sat alone in a dimly lit room, no music, no editing cuts, just raw footage. His voice, steady but solemn, carried the weight of years of silence. I didn't want it to end this way, he said, eyes locked on the lens. But you can only carry so much before the weight breaks you. And for me, that moment came months ago. Roman admitted, in front of the world, that he had been suffering from chronic spinal compression, nerve damage that affected his grip strength, and daily migraines that left him disoriented after matches. He spoke candidly about ignoring the symptoms, about being told to push through. And doing nothing. By morning, the media storm had begun. Sports outlets picked it up first, then ESPN. Then Variety, then Wall Street Journal. Creative control crisis at WWE. Paul Heyman whistleblows on Reigns' regime. WWE faces internal power reckoning. Sponsors began asking questions. Stockholders requested emergency calls, and internally, the message from TKO leadership was terse: get ahead of this, or get out of the way. It didn't take long for the roster to respond. Seth Rollins was the first to speak, cryptically, during a backstage segment. Some of us have been playing the long game. We're done waiting. Bayley followed with a post on X: silence isn't loyalty. It's fear. And then? LA Knight, live mic. No script, ain't no tribal chief where I come from. Just a man hiding behind production cues and paranoia. The crowd exploded, the momentum shifted, and WWE's control over its own narrative began to crumble. On SmackDown that Friday, Roman Reigns finally reappeared. No entrance. No pyro. Just him, in the ring, alone, with a single spotlight overhead. What followed was part promo, part defiance, part delusion. You think you know what this is? You don't. I am WWE. I put food on the table, for all of you. He pointed to the hard camera. To the fans, you think you're watching a rebellion? Nah. You're watching jealousy dressed up as truth. And then, a direct shot at Heyman: you forgot who made you. Now you'll remember who breaks you. It's now a civil war. On one side, Roman, the bloodline, remnants of the old guard still loyal to the machine. On the other, Heyman, a rising coalition of talent, and a fanbase demanding authenticity. WWE tried to keep it internal, but it's far beyond that now. Creative meetings are being monitored. Writers have begun leaking agendas to media outlets, and one memo, circulated on July 9, summarized the panic: we are losing control of the narrative. Heyman hasn't appeared on TV since that Raw night, but he's still working, just not for WWE. Reports now confirm he's in discussions with multiple media companies about producing a limited docuseries tentative title, Behind the Tribal Curtain. 6 parts unaired footage, testimonies from talent, and in the final episode, an open interview with Heyman himself. TKO's legal team is already preparing for a court battle, but they may be too late because Paul Heyman isn't trying to win a lawsuit, he's trying to win back the soul of professional wrestling. For 3 years, Roman Reigns stood at the top of WWE, a king crowned by legacy, carried by story, and protected by silence. Now that silence is gone, the story is being rewritten, the loyalty is splintered, and the empire is bleeding. This isn't the end of Roman's reign, but it is the end of what made it untouchable. What happens next will either define WWE's next chapter or destroy it. The game is no longer under control, and the world is finally watching. The WWE locker room is no longer a team. It's a battlefield. Split between those clinging to the old guard and those willing to burn it down. Some, like Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa, have remained in Roman's camp, whether out of loyalty or fear. Others, like Kevin Owens, LA Knight, and even Randy Orton, are now showing up early to TV tapings, not for rehearsal, but for strategy. They're not rehearsing matches, they're coordinating rebellion. Then came the leak that turned the fire into an inferno. An internal email, meant for senior WWE staff, was posted anonymously to a whistleblower site. Its subject line: prepare for transition planning if Reigns steps down from champion role. The body contingency programs are being developed for talent succession in the event that Roman Reigns relinquishes control due to reputational damage or internal pressure. It was unsigned, but sources believe it came from someone within WWE legal. For the first time, WWE was preparing for a world without the tribal chief, and the world took notice. 3 days later, WWE called an emergency press conference in Stamford. TripleH Nick Khan. A surprise appearance by Stephanie McMahon, conspicuously absent. Roman Reigns. The tone was rehearsed, controlled, corporate. We are proud of our history with Roman. He's helped define an era. But as a company, we recognize the need for growth and accountability. Then came the kicker, effective immediately. Roman Reigns will be taking a leave of absence. He will vacate the undisputed Universal Championship. The wrestling world froze. Roman hadn't lost, he hadn't retired, he was removed. A regime toppled not by storyline, but by real-world pressure. According to internal sources, one final meeting took place before Roman left WWE HQ. Roman, Paul Heyman, Solo, Jimmy. One closed room. What was said, no one will confirm, but one staffer claimed to hear the final sentence through the thin walls. Roman, you think they'll love you now that I'm gone? You think they won? Heyman, they didn't win. You just lost. No goodbye. No handshake. Roman left the building that day and hasn't been seen since. In the weeks that followed, WWE launched a tournament to crown a new Universal Champion. The locker room was buzzing. Creative freedom returned. Storylines felt less scripted, more alive, but questions still lingered. How deep did Roman's influence go? How many deals, backstage agreements, or silenced pushes are still buried? The truth: WWE is not healed, not yet, but for the first time in years, it is breathing. Heyman made one final appearance in the closing moments of his 6-part docuseries, Behind the Tribal Curtain.